Hey everybody, welcome back to Space Beat, powered by the USA Today Florida Network. I'm your host, Rob Landers. This week we've had some interesting stories come up on the Space Beat, namely a NASA directive to get back in the space race with China and Russia in building a nuclear reactor on the moon. Joining me in the studio is, of course, our space team reporter, Brooke Edwards. Brooke, welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So you covered this story about the NASA directive that came out saying that they wanted the nuclear reactor built on the moon by the 2030s. What can you tell us about this, and where are we going?
Yeah, definitely. So it was a few weeks ago that NASA released this document signed by interim administrator Sean Duffy, and basically it's called the Fission Surface Power Program Executive. And what it's looking at doing is it's going to use nuclear energy as a power source on the moon, because as you mentioned, China and Russia have announced on multiple occasions that they want to have a joint effort for the 2030s to have a similar objective on the moon. And why this is important is because when we send astronauts back to the moon, NASA aims to send them to stay. And we're going to need long-term power sources on the moon for not only technology, but for life support. And where they're landing on the south pole of the moon is dark, it's cold, and sources tell me that there's pretty much only 2 weeks of sunlight.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's going to be kind of like the Norway or northern Sweden, where during winter. What kind of nukes are we talking about? Are we talking like we're talking like a full fission reactor, right?
They haven't announced specifics. What they're looking for is within the next 8 months. They're reaching out to private companies, commercial companies, who could fulfill this contract and deliver a nuclear power source on the moon. We don't know how large it's going to be, how small it's going to be, but pretty much it's going to be using fission power to create nuclear energy, which provides heat and energy for technology, for life support.
Okay, Brooke. So we've already talked about the fact that Russia and China are planning to do the same thing, or have been announcing that they're planning to do the same thing for a long time. Why is it so critical for us to beat them to the moon? Like this should be a no-brainer answer. Like I should already know this. But from what you've read and what you've seen, why is it so important for us to beat Russia and China back to the moon and be the first ones to have a nuclear power plant on the moon?
Well, right there in the document, NASA pretty much outlines that it's a concern for them because, as we've seen throughout history, those who arrive first, they could pretty much say, this is our territory. It's an exclusive keep out zone. And that's right there in the document as a concern. Also, as Americans, it's more of a national pride for us because we've been there and we don't want to lose our esteem saying, well, Russia and China went back. Why didn't America?
Well, I mean, Russia and China have actually never landed on the moon. They've never actually planted a flag. We are the only country that's planted a flag on the moon. I mean, humans planting said flag on the moon that we know of. But that brings me to another great topic. So we're talking about going back to the moon. Right now, NASA's current program, Artemis, is on track for Artemis 2, which is going to take astronauts on a loop around the moon, correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so what are the next steps for Artemis? Tell me everything. Let's download right now. Tell me everything that I would need to know about any upcoming Artemis projects or missions.
So as of now, Artemis 2 is scheduled to launch no earlier than February 2026. This, of course, is if they can get the SLS rocket and the Orion spacecraft ready in time. And that mission is going to launch from NASA's Kennedy Space Center, Pad 39B. It's going to loop around the moon, and it's going to splash down the ocean. And depending on the success of that mission, Artemis 3 will follow in 2027 if everything's on track. And Artemis 3 is going to be the one that lands humans back on the moon. And that is dependent on SpaceX's Starship being able to function as a human lander. But as we've seen from the past few months, Starship has yet to successfully complete an orbit and has been not meeting its objectives. So we have a flight coming up pretty soon. We'll see how Starship does.
Fill me in here just a little bit. Let me understand this. So during the during the Bush administration, we lost Columbia. And during the Bush administration had rolled out the Constellation program. Obama came along and canceled the Constellation program. Now we've got the Artemis program. Are there plans to cancel that? Are there plans to try and do something else? Spin everything going to the moon to private? Like, where are we right now with Artemis? Because each one of those launches costs upwards of more than $4 billion to get the rocket off the ground. So where are we with like private enterprise taking over the space race?
So, there's been some back and forth, but the last bill passed was they're going to go through Artemis 5 with SLS, and then after that, the current administration is looking to spin this more towards private companies that can deliver not even only a launch vehicle, but continue with the landing vehicles, which will bring down the cost much more.
Okay, so basically, we're gearing up for a let Elon and Jeff Bezos and any other private companies that are out there fight over the contracts to get us to the moon. But really, when we allow them to do that, I guess we're letting them develop the stuff. Like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, we know want to go to Mars. They want to colonize Mars, and it gives them a foothold in building the infrastructure that they would need for Mars. Makes sense.
Also, if there's any other private companies out there that spring up, we just don't know yet. There could be another company that pops up in the next few months. Private space specifically is expanding.
Well, right. So we've got all of these private companies that are planning like space stations, like VAST, which, if I'm not mistaken, VAST was scheduled to launch their first space station this month, but I haven't heard anything about that, so I don't know that that's actually happening. But we have lots of space companies that are already planning things. So you're right. There could be another 200 that pop up all of a sudden, because now it's going to be this niche industry of people trying to jump on board the space bandwagon, and that doesn't include all of the companies that will contribute components to the pieces that will fly privately as well. Okay, so let's shift gears here a little bit. We've got coming up for launch a mysterious spy plane, the Miding Shuttle, the X-37B. What can you tell us about the craft? What it does? It's top secret or classified, but what do we know about this thing, and when is it launching? When might we be able to see it take off?
So this space plane is flying its 8th mission. It was built by Boeing specifically for the Space Force. And people refer to it as a mini shuttle. It looks like the space shuttle, but it launches in a different way. Unlike the space shuttle, it launches on top of the rocket instead of putting the boosters on the side of the shuttle, the space plane. In this space plane, it's called the X-37B. It's gonna launch on top of a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. No earlier than actually on Thursday, the 21st, from Kennedy Space Center's Pad 39A. And we don't know how long it's going to be in orbit. Past missions have seen it past 900 days in orbit. It has thousands of days total in orbit so far over its past 7 missions.
Okay, all right. So this thing takes off a little differently than the space shuttle did, as you mentioned, which is good, because those of us that were around for Columbia remember that it was the frozen foam on the external fuel tank that fell and hit the shuttle, and that's what caused the hole, which caused the superheated plasma to get into the wing and rip it apart when it was coming back on re-entry. This actually makes sense because there is nothing in front of the shuttle when it's taking off, so there's no chance of anything falling on it other than hitting a bird, but it's inside a fairing, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's inside those plastic SpaceX protective fairings like they put on their Starlinks.
Yeah.
And what's important to note is that there's no people on this mission. They're top secret space missions that are testing orbital technology. This one specifically, they say, is going to be testing a new sensor, which is looking at GPS in areas that were previously inaccessible, as out towards the moon.
Interesting. Okay, so GPS looking at how far out we can see GPS.
Exactly. They're testing how far they can go with GPS. Where further previously it would cut off the further out you go.
Like cell service on an airplane.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Brooke, how long are they holding this thing on the ground between missions? Like, I mean, you said that it's got a record for time and space, like 900 days, and then it came back. But how long are they keeping it on the ground to like reinstall things and upgrade things before they launch again? Like how long has it been on the ground this time?
That's what's so amazing, because they're really looking into how they can launch this thing and land it and have a short turnaround time, like a space plane, like making space flight more rapid. So the last time it landed was back in March at Vandenberg Space Force Base. So it's not going to land here at Kennedy Space Center. But how short they can get that time remains to be seen.
Okay, so finally, before we go, Brooke, any other launches coming up significant other than, the rapid fire or Starlink that we've been seeing so often these days?
Yeah, so Space has actually put Starlink on hold for a bit, because from Pad 40, they have the CRS-33 mission going, which is it's NASA's next resupply mission by SpaceX. They're going to be sending up on a Falcon 9 rocket a SpaceX Cargo Dragon full of science and supplies for the astronauts on the ISS.
This isn't just a regular resupply mission, right? This is going to do something for the space station, right?
Yeah, so for our first time, we're going to see SpaceX has an extra component on the Dragon spacecraft. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be able to fire it and utilize it to boost the space station's orbit.
Okay. All right. So is there an issue? Like, I mean, we know obviously that there's a natural, degrading orbit of everything in space. It's, what goes up must come down eventually. So is there a problem? Like, is it degrading faster than it should be, or are we just being precautionary here?
Not that we know, it's just a routine boost. But also noteworthy is SpaceX is going to be utilizing a Dragon-like spacecraft to, within a few years, by 2030, they're going to be using that to deorbit the space station. So this could be looking into that technology.
Any other interesting launches coming up in the near future that we should know about, Brooke?
The next thing after that, we're back to our regular Starlink missions as soon as August 27th.
Okay. Well, Brooke, thank you for all that you do. For those that don't know, Brooke is part of the team responsible for bringing all of our live coverage of those launches, and is on that whole routine of, yes, I've got to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning to cover that 4 a.m. launch, and oh, it's scrubbed. Great. Now I get to be up at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning to cover that 3 a.m. launch. As someone who really loves space, I really appreciate all of the work that you and Rick and Eric and our entire space team does. It makes this show possible, but it makes all of our space coverage possible. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I love doing what I do.
Well, that's our show for today. I want to thank again Brooke Edwards, our space team reporter, for joining us today. Join us again next week when we have all the latest from our space beat. And remember to hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss one of our space videos. That's it for this week. Take care.